Okay, peace. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. Jambo, Ashe, Duantur, Hotep, Shalom, Shalom. All the greetings of love and light to the darkest minds of the light. This is NapahShadah, and I'm walking again today. I didn't make this walk it like I talk it, or talk it like I walk it, or whatever I usually say, but I was listening to a snippet. I think it was a podcast or a lecture from Dr. Michael Heiser, and he was talking about one of my favorite subjects, blood sacrifice. So, yeah, blood sacrifice. Michael Heiser was speaking about how some people have. Let me make sure you guys can hear me. Peace to Hootie, can you hear me okay? Can you put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me? To Hootie. So much traffic where I'm walking right now. Oh, that's c'est la vie. Such is life. Let me see. Can you hear me? Tahuti, can you hear me? Peace, Barn Dog. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so not looking in the chat right now, but so he was saying atheists and those who even who aren't atheists. He didn't say this part, but I'm gonna expound. I'm basically expounding on what he said. Scratch that. I'm not expounding on it. I'm walking. Hold on. Okay, let me get this straight. I'm going to do commentary on what he talked about. He says there are people out there who say that God of the Bible is a bloodthirsty God, and they use a lot of proof by showing, the sacrifice of animals, and he says they just don't understand the Bible. Oh, man. Okay, I'm getting a phone call. 1 second, please. Okay, sorry about that. Can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me? I want to make sure my audio is okay. It's like I don't get any phone calls until I go live. It's irritating. And I'm not saying the person who called is irritating. It's just irritating how the energy works. Like, oh, you're live. Let's send you a phone call. Peace to Natal Bosco. Peace, real cleanup. Barn Dog. You guys can hear me. Great. Thank you, Barn Dog. Okay, now, leaving the chat, and I'm going to go back to what I was saying. So, yeah, there's a lot of proof in the Bible that someone who would say, oh, God is a bloodthirsty God, the God of the Bible, there's a lot of proof. In fact, the Bible is a bloody book. So let's talk about blood sacrifice. Michael Heiser, he has a funny thing that he calls, I'm not laughing at what it actually is. I'm laughing at what the word he uses as a Christian. And I have a lot of respect for him as far as his scholarship, but the Christian side of him is just no different than any other Christian who tries to tell you what you see is not what you really see. He calls the blood sacrifice decreation or the deconstruction of the person. So basically, God is a God of creation, and then you decreate a person or a thing when you kill it. So school shooters who go and kill children in schools, they're decreating. You get what I'm saying? It's like, no, Michael, you dropped the ball on this one. He says deconstruction or something like that, or decreation. No, it's killing. Dare I say murder in a lot of instances. But let's talk about the why. Why is there so much requirement for blood in the Bible? And not just the Bible, though. To be fair, in every ancient spiritual system, religion, there's blood sacrifice required. Okay, well, if you know any of what I've taught or spoken on, we conceptualize God in our own selves. Does that mean that God isn't real? No, because I come from a metaphysical point of view. So we conceptualize God as beings in this realm. We do. If we say that God is unfathomable, which that is what all Abrahamic religions say, they say the mysterious God, the all-knowing, you could never understand the full mind of God. Well, if we know this, then we know that we conceptualize God. We take a hold of God through our own consciousness. Now, I had spoken about blood sacrifice from the beginning. I spoke from a perspective of, well, my perspective, which is we started to eat meat. I studied that. I found it out. There's even a hypothesis, the expensive tissue hypothesis. So once we started to eat meat, our brains developed. Our brains developed much faster, better, 60% larger. We became thinking, intellectual, sentient beings. Conscious. We became what we know as our consciousness now. Now, I'm not saying we didn't have consciousness before we ate meat, but what we know as consciousness, how we hypothesize, philosophize. I always have a hard time saying that word. Philosophize, how we think. That's what happened to our brains once we started eating meat, once we tasted blood. Now, with that understood, we conceptualized God, so our connection with God would be founded on blood and flesh. I mean, this is just logic. You don't have to agree, but you can't say that's not logical. So once we, through our consciousness, which we developed, the consciousness that we know now, I'm not saying, I'll say it again, I'm not saying we didn't have consciousness when we weren't eating meat, but the consciousness that we've perfected, in a sense, I guess I can say, the consciousness that human beings utilize, that consciousness, we molded it, or we honed in on it, I should say. We honed in on that consciousness through eating flesh and blood. So, naturally, that's how we connected to our God. And so we say God wants blood. God must want blood. How did I even discover God? Through eating, through killing, through taking the life, blood, the force of a creature out of it, and not just taking it out. See, this is why I say, of course the priests drank blood. Of course they did. I'm talking about Torah now. Because not only did we see, killing, spilling the blood, we ate it, we drank it, and it was exhilarating. You know, we all know about well, not all of us, but a lot of people who watch my channel, adrenochrome. There's a high, a rush, but it's not just adrenochrome in the blood. There's other components of the blood that can transfer into you, the one who imbibes the blood, who consumes the blood. So it's hard for an Abrahamic faith believer to really wrap their minds around this, because everything that was taught to them as just a mindless drone, you know, everything that was dumped into their brain was against what I'm saying. Why? Because you have to be an initiate. You have to be one of the illuminated to be able to be taught the truth about blood sacrifice. If you're taught the truth about blood sacrifice and you're not worthy in their eyes, when I say there, I mean the governors of these religions. If you're not worthy, what the hell you might do? You might be very irresponsible. You might go deconstruct a bunch of children and nice little cute kitties. You see, they're protecting people. That's what they say. They're protecting you from the truth. We have to see if you're an initiate. Are you one of the darkest minds of the light? Are you illuminated? So how do they guard that information? They meaning the gatekeepers. In the Bible, they're called the watchers, the watchmen. How are you? How is that information guarded? Well, bloodlines, back to blood, lineage, genealogy, and that's not always fail-safe, because you have a lot of times, even you can read in ancient writings again, you know, brother turns against brother, even though he's a part of the bloodline, he's rogue. You always have that dichotomy, that versus, you know, Cain versus Abel, Enlil versus Enki, Osar versus Set, or Osiris versus Set, Horus versus Set, Satan versus Jesus, but they're all one. Jesus and Satan are one. God and Satan are one. It's just, I mean, I'm getting off the subject a little bit, but it's actually talking about you, yourself. There's always that's why we talk about balance. You yourself. You know, what's going on inside of you. We could go into Sigmund Freud. We could talk about Carl Jung. We could talk about psychology all day. But just coming from me, from Napah, I can break it down myself. I'm not saying I'm anywhere near the work of Jung or Freud, so don't take it that way. But what I'm saying is we can all use our own connection to reason, to philosophize, to be intellectual. Use your consciousness. Mine is much cruder than many others' consciousness, but it's still mine. So I digress. So back to blood sacrifice. Bloodlines, the blood. That's why there's so much blood in almost every, I'll say every ancient hit religion. Now, when we look at the Bible and we say, well, Michael Heiser was saying, well, see, these are sins that must be atoned for. And how can we atone for? The only way, I'm paraphrasing, is for that blood. Some sins you cannot atone for. So you need that blood. It's not a blood sacrifice. He didn't say you need that blood. He said the person has to be exiled or killed. Well, grave sins like idolatry, blasphemy, adultery, those are all sins of death that are of death or require death. Okay? So, that's a blood sacrifice. If you look at it. Now, Dr. Heiser said, these are sins that you cannot do a blood sacrifice for. I disagree, because the blood is the person. The person who has done that sin. Am I saying that's right? No, I'm talking about the Bible. We're talking about different subjects in context. I had to put that disclaimer in there, because you know how people are. Napah said we need to kill people if they ... Anyway, so when a person commits adultery, the sacrifice, the bloodshed must take place. So there's bloodshed for all sins, in essence. Now people might say no, because Law 543 says then you don't have to. You just have to bring an offering of fruit, pumpkins, and squash, and well, pumpkins are squash, but anyway. But no, because in essence, all sin requires blood sacrifice, because the sacrifices were going on all the time in the temple, in the tabernacle of Yahweh, of Yahweh. There's always blood required. So, yeah. And so if someone who resents the Bible, or, just sees the Bible for what it says, if they say your God's a bloodthirsty God, well, I can't really get upset, because see, the God of the Bible, by the way, there are many gods of the Bible. There's not just one God of the Bible. Many gods of the Bible. I'd love to have a discussion on that. There are many gods of the Bible. And the Old Testament, Torah gods, the God of Leviticus, specifically in Deuteronomy, that's a God of blood. That is why I know that God is linked to the god Set and the god Sekhmet. Those are gods of blood. And I can show it. Anyway, let me take a look at the chat. Peace, Tori. Ron Moses, Hosea 6:6. For I desire mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. The knowledge of God is a Melchizedek order. Okay, Ron Moses, thank you for putting that scripture in there. That's the different God, you see? That's Hosea. But the God of the Torah says, give me all the blood. I need all the firstborn. If you have any firstborn males, I need a sacrifice of them, or you got to see in the sacrifice of an animal. So thank you. Thank you for showing that. As I said, there are many different gods in this Bible. And the God of Hosea, because see, let me tell you why there are many different gods. Hosea's consciousness, Hosea's conceptualization of God, pause, and I don't mean pause as in a bad thing. Let's stop and let that marinate. Hosea's conceptualization of God, or whoever wrote that, say, ask Hosea, that person's conceptualization of God is not the same conceptualization of God that the people who wrote the Torah have. You could say Moses, but there are many writers, but that's a different subject. So I'll say Moses, okay? Moses' conceptualization of God through his consciousness and his understanding is not the same as Hosea's conceptualization of God. So what does that tell us? That there are different gods. People say, wait a minute, no, there's only one God. No. There's only one unfathomable source outside of what we can conceive, outside of what we will ever know. We shouldn't even speak on that because we have no place. Where do we go? Where do we come from? So if you're talking about the outside, unfathomable God, when I say outside, it's still God is everywhere. God is everything. That unfathomable universal mind of God. See? So I'm already messing up. We all mess up. When we try to start explaining the one power, the unfathomable God, even when I put a title on it, on that, or a name, I've now made it not what it is. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about the gods of this realm. Because when you start saying God wants this, God wants blood sacrifice, and this is what it is. When you start saying that, now that is a God. But it's the God that you brought forth through your conceptualization. And it gains power because you have a group of people who become a hive mind, marinate on that, who become a hive mind, a hive consciousness, and they feed their energy and their consciousness into your concept of God. And that's the power of the Abrahamic gods, the Abrahamic faith. So many people have fed their own power into the concept of one person. It starts out as one or maybe a group of people. So getting to Hosea, the God that you see in that verse, that God doesn't want blood. See, people say, well, the scriptures say God doesn't change. Each God doesn't change. Yeah, Hosea's God doesn't change because it's Hosea's conceptualization of God. And then we say, oh, but that's Yahweh. That's all Yahweh. If you really want to get deep, sure it is. Sure it is. Isn't God all things, everywhere, everyone? I'm talking about the God of this realm now. I'm not talking about the unfathomable God. So we function on a vibration, a frequency, different frequencies. But when I read Hosea, my fault, Hosea. I'm talking about that verse you put up. I'm not looking in the chat. When I read Hosea, I'm on that frequency. I'm on the frequency of Hosea's consciousness, listening to Hosea. I'm vibing. I'm feeding my energy. I'm linking my consciousness, in a sense. Like picking on, okay, where's Hosea's frequency with his conceptualization of God? Oh, I tuned into it. I got it. Here it is. Now I'm vibrating on the same frequency as Hosea. And I say, yes, I understand that God doesn't require blood sacrifice. So when I see Moses' God, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Okay, let me give you an example. I'm listening. Oh yeah, God doesn't want sacrifice because we were using the sacrifices wrong, and we were just still sinning. Okay, I got you. But then somebody does something really horrible. Let's say a man kidnaps a little girl and harms her. Oh, sorry, Hosea, I'm going to tune off of your frequency because I want to tune onto Moses' frequency. Why? because now I'm vibrating in that mode. I'm going to link my consciousness to the God of vengeance and blood. Because why? I want blood. I want that person's blood. Oh no, Moses is right. Yes, Jesus is right. You harm this person. Yes, I like that frequency. So now yes, can I help you? I'm fine. Oh no, I'm exercising. Thank you. I'm married. Have a good day. Bye. Anyway, where was I? Can't remember. Oh, okay. So yeah, we tune into different vibrations or different frequencies, which those frequencies, that consciousness on those frequencies, that is their concept of God. It goes back to blood sacrifice. Even Hosea is like, at one time, blood sacrifice was, well, see, I'm just using that one verse that the brother put up, but we all know that Hosea was okay with blood sacrifice because he followed the law. That verse is, out of the context of that verse, is really saying, you've been doing blood sacrifice the wrong way. That's what the God of the Bible is saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know I'm not wrong about that. Not being pompous, but I know what the context of that verse is. Because Hosea followed the law, and the law is blood sacrifice. So, but let's just use that verse where God says, I don't want any blood sacrifice anymore. Hosea has elevated if we just freeze that one verse without looking at the context, and it says God doesn't want blood sacrifice, because Hosea elevated in his consciousness, or because of his consciousness, he said, oh my gosh, wait, blood sacrifice, what the hell? We're killing these things. No, the vibration is off. We need something else here. Something higher than blood. Blood is very powerful. The reason it is powerful because it's like a conduit for the energy, and it's like the flesh and the spirit, the essence of whatever it comes from, or whatever creature. So anyway, so for that verse for Hosea, he says God doesn't want blood sacrifice. He's now on another level. He's vibrating on another level. But when you go back to, when you see as a person, as a stable person, and a balanced person who doesn't like to see gore, and you got to be careful with that, exposing yourself to all that gore, and even these so-called slasher films, you start to desensitize yourself, which is vibrate lower, and you don't mind it. But I digress. So if you're a normal person, when you see something like, a school shooter went in killed a bunch of teachers and children, that's in our society, that's purity. That's a representation of purity. Children, people who take care of children, that's something good that we have in this realm. So we get enraged. We start to vibrate on our carnal self. This is the exciting part about blood and what people call evil. But evil is relative. Evil is all about context and consequence. Okay? What is evil? What is context of what happened? So let me explain. So a school shooter kills teachers and children. That's evil, right? Why is it evil? Because that person went in and killed what we see as pure, innocent, vulnerable something we protect at all costs, right? Children and those who care for children. So that's why, okay, see our consciousness? We used our consciousness. See, if we take it in slow motion, school shooter goes in and kills a bunch of children and teachers. But in slow motion, we say, this person killed the pure of our society, of our realm, of our existence. That's slow motion. Then, boom, that triggers our lower carnal self. Nothing's wrong with that. Because when it triggers our lower carnal self, that's rage. Rage is very important because we need it, see? We need it for what? We need it for protection. Protection, not just to protect the children from death, but to protect our society from this killer doing it again. So what does the rage do? The rage isn't evil, right? We go kill the one who killed the pure. See? So that's why evil, I didn't finish. Okay, so we know that what the guy did was evil. We broke it down. School shooter, why did he do evil? Because he killed the pure and the sacred, well, I call sacred, pure of our society, children. They're the children and the ones who protect and care for the children. Okay, that's the evil. Well, let's flip it. Ready? School shooter goes and shoots a bunch of students and teachers. I find out the students are like, and the teachers, it's some weird, I'm just throwing this out here, some weird pedophile school, teaching pedophiles how to prey on children. Okay, today we're going to learn how to, stalk school children and wait outside the schools. So that right there is not evil. Why? Because the school shooter turns into somebody good. Oh, that school shooter shot up a school full of future pedophiles and teachers of pedophilia. You get it? So evil is relative in context and consequence. It really is. I mean, this is for like the deeper thinker, the darkest mind. So there is no evil just on the surface. You can't say, oh, evil, good. Every situation has to be analyzed. And then you can judge, oh, that's evil. That's why we are God. And we are God because we need to be righteous judges. You see what I'm saying? And that's every situation. I gave like a very radical situation, but we could even do that with eating food. I can use it like eating food. People don't have anything to eat. They're dying of starvation. They see a pig. What, do you think they're not going to eat the pig? Oh, God said that's evil? No, it's evil to be foolish and die. That's evil. Yes, and that's Torah. They say, oh no, Torah says don't eat pork. Torah says to be fruitful and multiply. It says to live. And I could take it to where Noah and his sons, where that God of that chapter says, eat everything you want, as long as you don't murder mankind to eat. Didn't say, don't eat human flesh. Look, I'm not a cannibal, and I'm not a proponent or an advocate for cannibalism, but I'm just saying what the scripture said. It doesn't say don't eat human flesh. It says don't murder to eat humans. Anyway, so blood sacrifice. We, in the beginning of our existence, started to eat meat, started to eat blood. And that particular instance triggered a type of consciousness, or actually nurtured or honed into a type of consciousness, the frequency of a consciousness that we use today. And it's fascinating. And that consciousness is how we conceptualize our God. And that's all gods: Aztecs, Babylonian, Eurasian, all different regions, all the people in the beginning were doing blood sacrifice. Why? Because in the beginning, when we ate blood and flesh, we said, oh, I look up in the cosmos and I see something's up there. There's other life force, life beings. I see lights. What are those burning fires in the sky? Oh, this is my concept of God. And by the way, I'm going to leave you with this. The first God acknowledged in this material realm. I'll say it again. The first God acknowledged in this material realm, realized, is the woman. I know that's a hard pill to swallow when you're programmed so well throughout your DNA, and even now, that the woman is the cause of all evil and death. No, the first God realized by all life, by all humankind, I should say, the woman is the first God. Why? Because she is the one who brought forth a human life in front of everybody. That was the miracle. Now, science advanced, we look at it, we break that miracle down so we can, say, oh, that's not a miracle, but it is a miracle. She brings forth the human beings out of her own body. What she eats, what she thinks, what she does, how she treats others, how others treat her, all help form the being that is within her body. That was worship. That was the worshipful master, the woman, the mother. And you can see that in Genesis 4. That's Eve. That's Eve who is speaking to Cain. That's Eve who is speaking to Cain about how he feels. And that's Eve who does all the judgment. So with that said, I'll take a look at the chat now. Thank you, Tony. Peace. Deep mind and a sharp sword. Keep an open mind. I don't represent for anyone religious, but good for you. Yes. Peace, Yeshariah. Seems to have original. Yes, that's right. Ramos is. Oh, Peter. Well, Peter, I don't think you're going to get blocked if you're just participating. My mods don't do that. So if you're participating and just vibing, I don't think they block you. I respect their judgment, support it, and value it, so they know. No, but because at the end of the day, nobody wants to block anybody. We want to. It's like coming to the well, and we all have our own buckets, and we're just dipping in the well, getting what we need, and walking away from it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're all here to just get what we want and what we need, and maybe even share some of our own stuff, our own wares at the well. You know what I'm saying? Hope that answers. Oh, I didn't see any of that. I agree. Sometimes I don't, but when I don't agree, I don't have to be insulting. There you go. Tony's the master of modding. He's one of the kings of the mods, like Max and Reese and H. Millette and all of the HOK mods. Peace to everybody. Okay, so you guys, just peace to everybody. I'm getting tired. Maritime forever. Rise, Peter, kill and eat. Yes, that was probably when I was talking about the pig, right? Yes. Proverb Nation, peace. Okay, I think it said peace to everybody. Oh, there's my sister, EP. Peace to you, Queen. All right, I love all y'all. I gotta get inside, and I'm not home yet, but I'm almost there. I have another mile. A whole mile. But wrapping it up full circle, Dr. Michael Heiser said, well, see, when there's a blood sacrifice, we're deconstructing or decreating. God created, and so we decreate. Come on, Michael. Come on, Dr. Heiser, come on. No, I'm not gonna let you get away with that. It's killing, it's murder. Well, when you kill an animal, it's not murder. I haven't gotten that deep, but I'm talking about when they go and slaughter all the different people who don't use the name Yahweh, who worshipped Baal, even though the Israelites at one time worshipped Baal. When Moses, through his conceptualization, gave the order to go kill the other nations, that was Moses' God, his conceptualization of God, and that God did require blood. Why? Because it was Moses' concept of that God. Is that not enough? That concept is very, very powerful. See, an atheist can say, see, she admits that it's just in her mind, but the mind is, you manifest your reality through your mind. Everything that we see today, cars, children, people, family planning, anything you see, even a plant that's a tree that's grown, it came out of the thought, our concept. I'm going to plant this tree. People say, well, what if a person didn't think about planting the tree? Now you're being simple. Because you conceptualize your existence. You just have to master it. I'm along with everybody else. I'm still working on mastering my existence. Oh, how great it would be to just be able to master our existence, right? And just think on such a high vibrational level, just to perfect your consciousness to where your every desire, your whole will, just like when we say God, the will of God, where your will is manifested into your material reality, right? Wouldn't that be great? What's that wall called? When I used to know, because I think my grandmother had one, the wall where it's all rock and there's no mortar. It's just all the rocks put together and it makes a wall. Anyway, that's what I'm on right now. I'm getting ready to get my other water out and drink it. Anyway, peace. I'm not seeing all the comments for some reason. Wow. That's weird. Yashar Bey Yisrael. Peace to you. Yasa Masa. Peace. All right, so remember, blood sacrifice. The reason it's present in the Torah, all throughout the Tanakh, actually, and then into even the New Testament, Jesus, and it's a requirement, and God requires it, is because this is where we began. Blood is what we first consumed, flesh, and blood is what we first consumed, that formed our minds to the point to where we started to philosophize. We became intellectual, sentient, conscious beings. That is why we say, oh, God likes blood. God needs blood, because we see the power of blood too. I didn't even go into all of that. Blood makes things happen. That's why you see people misuse, I'm going to say it again, misuse blood when they do this low vibrational magic. They misuse blood. And that's where the evil comes from. It's not because, and God said, don't ever do any voodoo. No, that's not what it is. They are misusing blood in low vibrational magic to grab a cat and just kill a cat because you want somebody to notice you. You want somebody to love you. That's what's the evil. The evil is you shed the life force of one being for something frivolous. Because if someone doesn't like you or want to be with you, move on. You know, there's no purity in that. Because after a while, it's just going to fall apart. It's just going to all crumble. You know, all these love spells you see on YouTube and all of the, you know, oh, how to get somebody to like you, how to get someone to give you all give you their wallet, you know, stuff like that. That's low vibrational. That's the evil part, not the actual concept or the idea of doing a ritual. That's why there are priests, which they became, a lot of them were corrupted. But that's why there were priests who determined, okay, this is how we're going to do this sacrifice and what we're doing it for. People put their trust in those priests, just like you put trust in doctors and teachers. Those are the high priests of today. You know, the doctor tells you, oh, Mr. Smith, we're going to have to amputate your leg. Are you sure, doctor? Yes, it's inevitable. There's no other way to do it. You willingly go and let the doctor take your leg. Why? Because you trust that doctor with your blood life, with your flesh. That's how it was with, and I'm not just talking about Levitical priests, Kemetic priests, priest of Baal, priest of Babel of Sumer, the Sumerians, all the different priests. The priest in ancient, what am I trying to say? Ancient Incans, the Mayans, they trusted these people just like you trust your doctors and your teachers and your professors and your congressmen. So we have to really rethink that too, because a lot of them are corrupt. They don't have your best interest. Same, and I'm sure it's same with ancient times. They became corrupt because the power can corrupt. Many people, that's why the example of Jesus is so awesome. Jesus had all the power as the high priest and the God of all gods in this realm, but Jesus was humble. He lived amongst the poor. He was often homeless. He gave to those who were seen as outcasts. You know, the Pharisees asked Jesus, "Why do you spend time with the low level charlatans, like publicans, like the politicians and the whores?" Jesus said, "Because he just played on them, played with their minds. He's like, well, you guys are so perfect. I need to be with them, right? You guys don't need me. I'm the physician. Shouldn't the physician be with the sick since they're so low, right? You guys don't need me." We're basically, it's like he could see beyond what these people who were high priests and Pharisees and, you know, the high people, the ones that were looked up to and trusted. He could see that they were corrupted by the power they had. And the ones who were considered low and outcasts, he could see that a lot of them, because of their because of the adversity that they had seen in life, and because of people always looking down on them, that developed a type of humility in them. And humility is always approachable. I'll leave you with that, okay? Peace to the darkest minds of the light. Much love, and I'm not going to look in the chat, but I love you all, and thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. All right.